All right, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I'm live. I mean, this is a warning ahead, especially if you live in the Vatican or your name is Jorge or your name is Tucho Fernandez or, you work at the dicastery, or is it dicastery now? Congregation for the divine worship and the sacraments. I mean, it's a bit of a nightmare. I'm giving you a heads up. Don't freak out. Calm down. Take your pills. Relax. Do some yoga, meditation. Breathe in, breathe out. Say Om and hold your fingers, however it is. You know, just get into your Zen zone before I show you this picture because it's kind of a nightmarish scenario. It is a nightmarish scenario because whatever we do, trying to implement Vatican II and the vision of the council and the spirit of the council and modernity and modern man and modern world and all that good stuff, we have these people, these rigid people, these uh, infiltrators, I guess, into the church who are destroying the intentions of the council. They are destroying the beautiful springtime of the council. They just don't understand the vision, the beautiful, fruitful vision of the council, because there's only one council in history, not 21. No, it's just one and only. It's the start from zero, as Cardinal Ratzinger called, you guys. It's the start from zero, it's the beginning. It's the super council, it's the super dogma. It is the start from zero. And of course, everything before the council is garbage. It means nothing. It doesn't matter. Dogmatic definitions, Nicaea, Trent, it doesn't make Chalcedon. Who cares? That's just dogmatic, rigid, non ecumenical stuff. Garbage. But okay, I gave you the warning. Here's the article. It is, published. It's a photo journal, photo image of by the National Geographic, October 26, 2023. Even after Traditionis Custodes, the amazing document of Jorge and his Saint Anselmo University, their cohorts in the destruction of the liturgy. But anyways, here it is. Here it is. I gave you the warning. Here it is. National Geographic. These devout young Catholics are embracing the old ways. Horror of horrors. What are these? What is this? What is this kind of a cassock? Is this a Roman chasuble? What is this little hat he's wearing, this priest? What are these? Where are the women? Where are the altar girls? Why is there this discrimination against women? The women's, where are the women's? And the girls is, among, with the priestesses. What is this discrimination, this racist, sexist, male dominated, rigid, evil people? Look, this movement embraces, it says, these devout young Catholics are embracing the old ways. Horror of horrors, as we said. The movement embraces some old world traditions, meaning Catholic, ancient Catholic traditions that even the church, meaning, uh, the post Vatican II innovators, the destroyers of the Roman Rite, has referred to as backwardness. Of course, St. Paul says, keep the traditions. Keep the traditions. But, for them, St. Paul doesn't know anything because he's backwards, like most, like these rigid, evil, backwards, uh, doctrinaire Catholics. So let's continue with the little article. And I'm kind of reacting kind of off the cuff because I haven't really honestly read it. I just kind of browsed it. So you can find it on the National Geographic, and Rorati had a little kind of snippets from it. So these are pictures of the Catholics at the Transfiguration of Our Lord parish in Syracuse, New York. Uh-oh, does the Bishop of New York know about these infiltrators, these rigid non-traditionis custodes Catholics? I mean, something has to be done about these people. Uh, New York traditionalist Catholics defy modern life and the wishes of mainstream church authorities, mainstream. So, yeah, it's the mainstream of now. They are the revolutionaries of 100 years ago. They're not the mainstream of 100 years ago. And 1,000 years ago, and 1,500 years ago, and 2,000 years ago, they're the revolutionaries. By embracing ancient rites, even though these ancient rites are in the decrees of the Council of Trent to be held, the profession of faith of the Council of Trent and the profession of faith of Vatican I. The same profession of faith was repeated in both councils for people to uh, adhere to the received rites and ceremonies of the Catholic Church. And they are not to be innovated, but actually to be held on to and embraced. This is the teaching of the Church. And so, yeah, these Catholics just don't know what they're doing. Anyways, so let's continue here. And they feel connected. These by embracing ancient rites, they feel connect. They feel connect. It connects them to a deeper, more profound faith. Yeah, because actually the ancient rites pass on the faith. They are codified in the prayers of the liturgy. So in the spring of 2021, Syracuse University senior. So it gives a few stories about different people on the and who attend the ancient liturgy. So he finished his final project on an advertising major. Um, so he talks about modern life, everything is consumer based, and everything and so on. Um, he says, as a boy in Connecticut, Brady had roamed the vast Wickham Park across from his family home. He couldn't articulate it as a child, but in the woods he had felt connected with something ancient and numinous, something larger than himself. As years passed, he lost that connection. But of course, that connection was restored in him when he saw and experienced the ancient liturgy of the Roman Church. And I would have to say, not just the Roman Church, if you attend the ancient liturgy even of the Coptic Church, of the Ethiopic Church, of the Assyrian churches, of of course, the Byzantine rites. If it is maintaining the ancient tradition, unfortunately, the Maronites went total novus ordo, so they lost the ancient Maronite, right? So, of course, you will not experience the same feeling. Uh, so again, beautiful images from National Geographic, which is what they're good at. You know, all these nice pictures. Oh, they're all in black and white. So it gives you here a traditional wearing of a veil as a sign of reverence during candle mass at the parish in New York. Um, and it says, traditionalists embrace old-fashioned gender and marriage roles as time-tested scaffolding for family and community. Yeah, the traditionalists actually recognize male and female, what a real man is supposed to be like and what a real woman is supposed to be like, and how to relate to one another. Oh, horror of horrors. Of course, that doesn't go with what is right. And then there's a picture on the right of it says here, the altar inside the Cathedral of St. Matthew the Apostle in Washington, D.C. draws the observant heavenward. The traditional Catholics believe antiquated liturgies. They're not antiquated. They are apostolic liturgies, living liturgies, because they are celebrated by the church. Do much of the same. Yes, they lift the eyes. This beautiful church would not be built without these so-called antiquated liturgies. Look at what the churches they built for the modern liturgies. You know, it's as simple as that. Um, so Catholics who are rebelling against modernity by worshiping in old ways that centuries ago defined the faith, but that had almost faded from existence. They did not, these old ways did not fade from existence by themselves. No, they were demolished by the supposed guardians of tradition, the popes and the cardinals. I mean, Pope Paul VI, Pius XII allowed the innovations in the Holy Week liturgies as an experiment, according to the new liturgical movement, as if they know better, as if modern liturgists know better than people 500, 700, 800, 900 years before them. They don't. They're innovators. So Pius XII opened the doors to Bernini to start to tinkering with the liturgy. And then, of course, Paul VI, after Vatican II, himself, I have a little short video with his, like he has two speeches decrying, actually, he's almost crying about the loss of the Latin language, the loss of Gregorian chants, the loss of the liturgy, which he celebrated. And he says, well, I can't do anything about it. It's the Vatican II commanded us. Like, who are you? Like, what do you mean commanded? You are the interpreter of the council, basically, you and your cardinals. Because it was so vague, you can interpret it any which way you like. And actually, the cardinals, the bishops after the council, when they presented the new Novus Ordo to them, they voted against it. They did not actually approve that right. It was not approved by the bishops of Vatican II themselves. But anyways, it was imposed. And Paul VI says himself, this is a liturgical novelty. He calls his own creation the liturgical novelty of the new rite as compared to the old rite. So these practices did not, these antiquated liturgies did not disappear by themselves. They were made to disappear. Anyways, so again, you see some beautiful pictures, Catholics. So this is Reverend James Schultz climbs the snowbanks of Our Lady of the Cape Shrine in Quebec. And so he talks about they go visit all these shrines, which are traditionally Catholic regions, which is nice as well. So again, it's really nice pictures just to look at beautiful little. I wish I could just get it in print. Probably be nice to have. And of course, talks about traditionals seek the blessing of on items. Icons, medals, candles, homes, of course. In a counter-reformation of sorts, devout Americans are flocking to old world traditions and beliefs. Yeah, meaning the traditions handed down by the fathers of the church and the saints of the church. The shift seems to have surprised even the larger church itself. Surprise, it's been going on for quite a while. Actually, the more you attack the ancient liturgy, the more you attack what is good, the more people's like, why are they so obsessed with this? Like, these people want to worship this way. Why are you picking on them? Why are you banishing them from when Francis says the church is open for todos, 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 everyone, 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 but we're going to kick out every traditionalist from their parish churches. We're not going to allow the ancient liturgy in parish churches. Let them go to garages or somewhere else. Shut down your Latin Mass communities. When he like, where's this todos, todos, todos? Total hypocrisy. Total hypocrisy. So you're attacking. What did I mean? They're not even setting up their own churches. They're still praying for you as Pope, even though you don't deserve that title in the least. Anyways, so last spring, Pope Francis privately told a group of Jesuits he worries the traditionalists' reaction against the modern. He worries the traditionalists' reaction against the modern is indietrissimo, backwardsness. And actually, that's not the first time Jorge Bergoglio actually attacked traditionals. He's been attacking traditionals from day one, from 2013, 2014, where he basically destroyed the Franciscan Friars of the Immaculate, banished Catholic, good, strong Catholic bishops. There's one in Italy, all over the place. And lastly, have Strickland, and now they're attacking the Sons of the Holy, Most Holy Redeemer in Australia, in New Zealand. It goes on and on and on and on. And they shut down the ability of the Bishop of Southern France from ordaining priests. He didn't do nothing wrong. Anyways, yeah, he's just simply it's backwardsness. Well, where is this todos, 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 Jorge? Where is this todos, todos, todos? So, mainstream Catholics consider questions of backwardness and progress resolved after the Second Vatican Council. Actually, the Second Vatican Council was a total surprise for most Catholics. I mean, the change in the liturgy. They were suddenly told, okay, now we're facing the people. Oh, now we're stopping to face God. We're going to be facing you guys. Oh, now we're going to tear down the high altar. We're going to put tables instead, closer to you people. Oh, now we're going to tear down the statues because that's what the council said. Catholics didn't say any of that stuff. They didn't even mention that stuff. It was just imposed on Catholics in the name of the council. Following its deforms, priests turned to face the congregation, said the Mass in common languages, and some churches offered contemporary music. So this, again, the new, more accessible style became so dominant that traditionalists now see their practices as emergent and subversive. Now they see the new became the traditionalists now see their practices as emergent and subversive. Well, we are subversive of the novelties of the post-council. And they make it here sound like, oh, the reformers, people. Yeah, he turned to face the congregation. He's no longer facing God offering sacrifice, but now he's part of a meal on a table. He's the guest. He's the host. Mass in a common language. Again, they assume that the Mass has not been altered. Actually, most Catholics do not know that not only the Mass itself, the very words of the liturgy, the very rites of the Mass, and every single other sacrament have been altered and changed and deformed and simplified, meaning Protestantized, meaning removed anything exclusively Catholic from them, so they will not offend our separated brethren. So it is not simply, oh yeah, it's the same old Mass. They just, made it in English. No, it's not. It is a completely different rite. Paul VI calls it the novelty of the new rite as compared to the Roman rite. He mentioned that specifically. So anyways, he shows you a picture of in a traditional parish. After Mass, a lot of parishioners go down, socialize, talk, make friendships, and it's actually the same thing at the parish I go to. I unfortunately don't usually have the time to go downstairs, but you always see people with their families and kids, which is good for Catholics to get to know each other. And he talks about here, in a society where research demonstrates a crisis of loneliness, traditions regard church as a communal answer. So yeah, you pray together, you eat together. That's all nice and good, isn't it? Okay, now here's the nightmare. Here's the nightmare written in the National Geographic, which is basically what the authorities, the usurpers in Rome are saying. They are spreading. Holy smokes. They are spreading. It's like a cancer. They're spreading. This is traditionalist disease. This cancer is spreading. It has to be shut down. That's why Traditionalist Custodes, the fake fraud of a document of Francis, came in, because it wasn't for love of the liturgy, love of the people. No, he saw this traditionalist, meaning Catholic, scourge is spreading. This cancer was spreading. Which was going to take over the whole body of the church, because the full churches and full coffers come from traditionalist parishes, not from your regular 80-year-old average age Novus Ordo parish. I mean, look at Quebec in Canada. Look at their televised masses. They're all white-haired people. No young people go to Mass anymore. It's done, from Catholic Quebec to the secularist, atheistic Quebec. Horrible. Here's your frickin' novelties. They're spreading, and they are spreading. Holy smokes. Each week traditionalists gather around more than 1,200 sites, and of course, mostly in the United States, probably talking mainly about church approved ones. They embrace a vision of religious life that had drifted out of fashion. Out of fashion by who? Whenever this out of fashion thing happened, the monasteries and the convents shut down. The religious order emptied out, and were filled with those who are of the different persuasion amongst their sexual preferences. The smells and bells of previous generations, which are of this generation, and you go to any ancient rite church, Coptic, Ethiopic, Byzantine, uh, whatever, Armenian, there's smells and bells, because look at the liturgy of the Old Testament in the temple. God called for smells and bells, incense and bells, and priests facing the altar, facing the offering the sacrifice behind the veil. And our altar rail is a joke compared to what we Catholics had, which were the rood screens, which are like the iconostasis of the Byzantines, and the curtains of the Ethiopians, which is like the curtains of the temple entering to the holies, and then the second set of curtains of the high priest going into the holy of holies, because our churches are based upon the temple in Jerusalem. They're not based upon the Last Supper meal in the upper room. Okay? Um, so they embrace a vision of religious life that had drifted out of fashion, the smells and bells of previous generations, and reach for symbols and language that bewilder the outside world. Bewilder it, because the outside world is so stupid. They are bewildered by smells and bells in a language, even though it's written in English and Latin, in German and Latin, in whatever language you like, Italian and Latin. Oh, it's bewildering. We can't even read. Oh man, we're so stupid. We can't understand anything. And reach for symbols and language that bewilder the outside world, and which the congregants themselves may not fully understand. Well, actually, they do, because everything is written down exactly what it is. And do I need to fully understand it? Do you think they fully understand? Do you think most people, most congregants, most people who go to the regular Mass, to the fake Roman Rite of Paul VI, do you think they know what everything means? Do you think they understand everything is being said? Do you think they even hear what the priest sometimes says in the offertory? They don't. And even look, why do we have such a dismal 75% of Catholics don't believe in the transubstantiation, in the true, real, divine presence of Christ in the Eucharist? That the Eucharist is God incarnate. It is Jesus Christ hiding under the veil of bread and wine. It is their creator. Why don't they believe that? They believe it's a symbol. Why? Because the fake Roman Rite of Paul VI, the fabricated liturgy, the stones instead of bread, as Ratzinger called it, taught them by practice, if not by word. The prayers were totally cut down, reduced to make it seem, there's the word sacrifice. Was pray, my brethren, that my sacrifice and yours is acceptable to Almighty Father. Okay, well, he said the word sacrifice. Okay, what does that mean, really? I mean, the word sacrifice is very, very loose. It could be many things. I could fast. That's a sacrifice. Is it the sacrifice of the cross? What is this? And then, of course, you give people, the body of Christ. Okay, give me my potato chip, my nacho. I'm gonna eat it myself. Okay, give me your nacho. Hey kids, go get Jesus. Oh, can I see your iPhone, mommy? Don't touch my iPhone. It's too expensive. Be careful with the iPhone. Be careful with the iPad, kid. So I just bought that thing. Oh, but hey, Jimmy, go to Father and go like this and grab God. Grab God who made you and stick him in your mouth by yourself. But don't you dare touch my iPhone. Don't you dare touch my new computer. Don't you dare to scratch my car. But go grab God yourself and eat him, because that's God. You think the children, when they grow up, within a few years, They're going to even slightly believe that this is truly God incarnate, that this is their Lord who made them? Of course not. This is a piece of bread. It symbolizes Jesus. That's all it is. So the fake Roman Rite is a destroyer of faith, period. Through practice, if not even we're talking about if you examine the text of both liturgies, you see that, then you notice, holy smokes, they removed so much of the sacrificial nature of the priesthood, of the reverence and penance required, and what we need to ask for forgiveness and intercession of the saints. All of that was cut down like drastically. So it is, I mean, I don't have more words to say. Anyways, there's a picture of Pope John the 23rd. And actually, people blame John the 23rd. You should read his opening address of the council. I actually have some things about. He was not talking about changing the church and innovations and none of that stuff. He was talking that Vatican II would teach the same faith, exact same doctrines, but in a manner to make the world understand better, this modern world to understand better. And who were the people he had writing his documents, the preparatory documents? Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, Cardinal Ottaviani. So, and of course, in the liturgy, he had this idiot Bonini from Pius XII. But all these documents at the first session of the council, they were all thrown away. So John the 23rd had the whole documents set out. Boom. Read them, minor revisions, vote on them, pass them, bam, bam, council finished, everything successful. But the modernists took over the council and they trashed all the preparatory documents, the schemata, and they made up brand new ones, which we have now as the documents of Vatican II, with the exception of the document on the liturgy, as I understand it. So don't blame John the 23rd. The Pope said that the purpose of the council was to modernize the modernization of the church after 20 centuries of life. I'd like to see exactly where that quote comes from. But he did say in his opening address is to preach the same faith with the same doctrine, but in a manner that these modern people can understand it and embrace it. So they're asking a 32-year-old Stephanie Wigton. She says it's more of a mystery and more that is veiled. She means it in a literal sense. She and other women wear veils during the service. So it's not just the veiling of the women. Here, actually, it is the liturgy itself is more because it's a mystery and it's veiled through the veil of language, through the veil of the priest facing away from you. Traditionally, actually, even in the Roman Rite, we had curtains. You go to Europe or look at some pictures of old cathedrals, and when you look at the pictures of old cathedrals or high altars, you'll see these poles on the sides of the altar. And these poles were for curtains. The high altar had curtains on the side and even the front, the high altar. So how traditionally the church is supposed to be like, which is actually almost universal. You see the front is the high altar, the Holy of Holies, and it should have a curtain, or at least side curtains. And then after it is the choir section. This is where you see the altar boys sitting on side by side, or in a monastery would be the monks sitting here. This is the choir, the real choir, not the upstairs on a balcony thingy. This is Scola or whatever, the laity sings it. But the real choir is actually the altar. Behind it are the choir, people facing. And then there's another, now we have the altar rail. Previously, it would be a rood screen. In the east is the iconostasis. In the Ethiopic church and the Armenian church, there's a curtain. They close the curtain, the gate of heaven. So there's two divisions, which matches the Old Testament temple. So it is veiled. And actually in the Armenian rite, the ways of consecration, all the consecration, they close the curtains and everything is in very quiet so people don't hear. Same thing in the Roman rite where the priest brings his voice down during the canon of the Mass. So and then when the consecration happens in the Armenian rite, they curtains are opened. So it's like the gates of heaven have opened, and the priest comes out with the bread of angels, the bread of heaven. Um, so it's the veiling is not simply, oh yeah, the women are wearing veils. No, the whole mystery of the liturgy. That's why we should restore the rood screens, which were removed after the Council of Trent, which was supposed to maintain Catholic identity. They removed the rood screens, so only most of the rood screens still standing are in Anglican churches, which is kind of the Protestants are keeping the rood screens when the Catholics tore them down. And we're talking about Protestants and even Catholics removing statuary and of the saints and the icons. We had Catholics removing rood screens in the 16th century. That's not a right thing, anyways. She says, "Oh, we love Pope Francis. We continue to pray for him." She says, "But we are benefiting from what we've learned from the past." Yeah, what we've learned is that yeah, we can pray for Francis. That he might actually, like, you can pray when Judas was alive. You could have prayed for Judas to convert. But anyways, members of the Catholic Land Movement gather in midday prayers at a cabin on Michael Giudice Farm in Sharon Springs, New York. So they're trying to, so they look back at centuries to an era when believers harmonized with both the natural order and the divine order. And even the rogation days are kind of for harvest and so forth. Grounded in the transcendent. Again, there's a picture here of the. Let's look at what it says here. While many traditions are drawing closer to God by revisiting the past, others are finding faith by reconnecting with creation. So talks about people trying Catholics to join forces, anyways, and that shows pictures of pilgrimages of Catholics in New York, and of course there's the big pilgrimage in Chartres, Paris to Chartres Cathedral, which 15, 20,000 Catholics march every year. So this is actually pilgrimage in New York. So, anyways, the impulses beneath that growth. So, what are the impulses beneath that growth? How can we diagnose this disease so we can cure it? A reaction against modernity, a yearning for something immutable. Yeah, the people, the popes never even dared to touch the liturgy on purpose. They I mean, when John the 23rd added the name of Saint Joseph to the canon of the Mass, that was a huge deal. Nobody touched the canon since Pope Gregory the Great, the way I understand it. Transcend. All right, that's not important. And here shows you some men, not soy boys, but men practicing. Here's three young traditionalists practicing boxing moves during a pilgrimage. Trads look to the past, but often through the modern lens of social media, potentially distorting the view of ideas like masculinity, Christian nationalism, and other, even science. We we deny science, like what evolution, that we came from, that life came from no life. That's almost like a fantasy land by magic then. And then somehow what we really see is not evolution but devolution. Actually, there was a study, I think Wall Street Journal, just recently, I think this month or last month, Wall Street Journal, search for it. It says that in the last 4,000, 3,000 years, or 4,000 years, human beings' brains have shrunk. We are getting stupider, not smarter. We're not getting evolved. We're getting stupider and dumber. Not, and what you see in the world is extinction of species, of animals, of plants. We're seeing extinction, not evolution and creation of new species and new animals. I swim. And anyways, the real and the ethereal. So it says, traditional Catholicism is still a small segment of the world's largest religion. Well, traditional Catholicism is real Catholicism. It was just simply smacked down after Vatican II in favor. So, what is the largest portion of the religion? Is Catholicism light, not full fledged Catholicism. It's Catholicism light. Um, and its adherents are geographically scattered. So it seemed natural for Brady that they find each other through technology, finding tradition on the internet. Mm. Right wing politicians exploit conservative customs as left wing politicians exploit socialist, atheistic customs. Uh, so, anyways, here's a picture of a lady receiving Holy Communion on her tongue directly from the hand of the priest. And before you say, oh, that was not how the early church did it. It was only in the Middle Ages when the Catholic Church started imposing people getting communion on the tongue, not in their hands. Well, that's a bunch of crap, period. If you look at every single apostolic church, churches which have not been in communion with the Catholic Church for 1,500, 1,600 years, like the Ethiopic Church, or some of the Nestorian churches, or the Coptic Church, or the Armenian Church. Before at the Council of Chalcedon in 430 or something, they broke communion. And all of these churches, every single one, Ethiopic, Armenian, Coptic, these Indian, the Malankara and Malabar, and the various churches which were founded by St. Thomas in India, and whatever you want to think of. Of course, Russia, Greece, all the Byzantine rites, and the Maronites in Lebanon, and the Chaldeans. Nobody, whether in communion with Rome or not, nobody gives communion in the hand. And only the priest touches the body of Christ. And they either receive it on the tongue like this, or dipped in wine and the blood of Christ, or sometimes. So, anyways, nobody touches the Eucharist. And they are scandalized by seeing Roman Catholics supposedly getting God Himself and just grabbing Him like some potato chip, some nacho. All right. And then they have like the funny thing for me, the joke, like when I have no other option, I'll go to the Novus Ordo, the fake rite of Paul VI. So, anyways, the joke is the priest, even the conservative ones, all right, even if a portion of his parishioners receive on the tongue, vast majority still receives it in the hand. He'll give it, here you go, here you go, here you go, and then you have the plate. What's the point of the plate when everybody's receiving it on the hand? The patent to prevent it from falling. What's the point of it? I don't know. And then you see the priest when he's purifying the vessel. So it's like pour the water, and he's like removing the little particles from the paten into the thing, into the chalice, and pouring the water and washing. Well, obviously you can see you're taking care of the host, and you see portions of the host, the body of Christ, on the paten, on your own paten, and you're pretending to take care what happens to them. You just gave 100 people the Eucharist on their sticky, sweaty hands. How much of the body of Christ has been left on them? It's crushed and thrown into the garbage. Total sacrilege, basically. Sacrilege. And I actually have a video on the fraud of communion in the hand, because people say, well, Saint, what's his name, of Jerusalem. The name is not popping into my head. Oh, he said, open your hands like this and do that. Well, actually, if you read the full quote, he says, the Eucharist is more precious than gold dust. It is, how would you treat gold dust? This is even more precious than gold dust. And you read they talk about the second canon came up from St. Hippolytus's canon, which is not true. Because you read the thing, it says, it is clear. Only priests were allowed in the very early church to, only priests, and of course bishops, to give the body. And the wine, the consecrated wine, was called the mystery of faith. That is why in the canon of the Mass of the Roman Rite, it says Mysterium Fidei, the mystery of faith on the wine. And you read St. Hippolytus, they call the consecrated wine the mystery of faith. And the deacons, like the priest would give the body, and the deacons only, or the priest, of course, or the bishop, not anybody below a deacon, would handle the chalice holding the mystery of faith, the blood. And so the deacon would give the blood to the parishioners, and the priest would give the body from the earliest days of the church. And even in this document, they say, why do we say with your spirit and not simply with you? Because the priest, not to the deacon, you don't say with your spirit, only to the priest and bishop, because they have the priestly spirit, the spirit of the priesthood to consecrate. That's why we say with your spirit. Anyways, so yeah, the communion in the hand thing is a fraud. The early fathers, like St. Basil the Great and others, they said, well, yeah, if you have no other option, there's persecution. Yes, you are allowed. But in normal circumstances, that's a totally different story. All right, let's finish it up now. Anyways. Traditionalists hold to a literal understanding of transubstantiation, the belief that the bread and wine of communion became the body, Christ's body and blood. So this is basically telling you that non-traditional Catholics do not hold transubstantiation literally. So, yes, that's what I've been saying for forever. Again, they're just explaining their experiences. It felt mystical. It felt real. Like it's not, yeah, it's even if you don't understand a single word, it just feels different. It feels more solemn, more holy. And as I said, okay, here's one of my little pet peeves is, one of my pet peeves, traditional Catholic priests, when you say the low mass, meaning not sung or chanted in incense, make the low mass audible. Read your rubrics. It says, say it to people. I actually have a video saying, make the low mass audible again, or something to that effect. It is the actual rubrics, the instructions tell you that you have to raise your voice so that those around you can hear it. You are not murmuring to yourself. You are not a monk in a monastery. You're not by yourself with your servers. You can go, it's not by yourself. If you're a monk in your own cell with a server, fine, no problem. But when you're a priest in a church with a congregation, you're saying the low mass, the parts where they have to be audible. So people around you, at least in the first few pews, can hear you. I can hear you when you're saying the prayers after the low mass, the 3 Hail Marys and so forth. Your voice is strong and clear. Why don't you say what is supposed to be loud and clear in the low mass? And what is supposed to be quiet and toned down, like in the canon, fine. That's what you're supposed to do. But don't murmur the whole mass to yourself. Anyways, I'm done with that. Let's continue and finish up here. Or is it over already? Yeah, it's over. So here's this. The night before Easter at St. Mary's in Oswego, worshippers follow a single candle into the dark church at the beginning of a vigil mass. The candle represents Jesus' time in the tomb and the Catholic willingness to follow and suffering until eternal glory. So, anyways, this is the article um, from the National Geographic with lots of nice pictures. Pretty, you know, not a criticism. It's just presentation, which is a good thing. Yeah. Oh, we have to shut these people down because they are evil. They believe as Catholics did for 1,969 years. We got to shut them down for the good of the church. We need these people, and us are the true guardians of tradition. Not bishops are supposed to be the guardians of tradition. The Pope is supposed to be the ultimate guardian of tradition. The ultimate guardian of tradition, not its destroyer. But unfortunately, this is where we are now. Anyways, so that's it. That is all. Hope you enjoyed this video. Anyways, well, that's kind of some good news that we see actually a flourishing even after Traditionalist Custodes, and they're shutting down different locations for the ancient Mass. It is, as I think Michael Davies used to say, the Mass that will not die. And why do we insist on it? Because it passes on the same old faith, and it is the feeling of awe, the feeling of not, it's like the music is like I hear on the radio, and it's junky stuff. At least when I hear Gregorian chant, which is my preference over polyphony, honestly speaking, it is takes you to a I'm out of this mundane, boring, disgusting world. I'm in heaven now, okay? Because this is kind of like you're entering into the temple of God, into the house of God. You are on your way to heaven with the priest facing the east, where it says Jesus will come from the east as lightning, and where we're facing the east, where Eden, the paradise, is in the east. That is why we do it this way. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please do the like button thingy and subscribe to the channel.